So there can be no doubt that the Modulus Tri-Strike is actually a pretty sweet bolt-action primary class blaster, but like all Nerf blasters on the channel, it could be a little bit better. Modulus Tri-Strike mod guide, go! So step one of modifying any bolt action blaster like this is to take the bolt off. But before we take the bolt off, we should be smart about this and remove all of the accessories and really isolate our Tri-Strike's main blasters. So let's come in from this way. That way if we do any damage to the shell, it's on all this nonsense text. So I wound up using a hammer's reverse end and some elbow grease to get the Tri-Strike's priming bar off. But once you do that, you loosen all the Phillips head screws. Now they are a variety of lengths, so definitely keep track of which ones go where. Certainly, you could do that either by laying them out in an arrangement that matches the blaster, or what I do when I'm not painting blasters is just leave them in that side of the shell. So I'm going to set that aside over here, and now we can take a look. So we have a spring rest, a catch. This is our trigger mechanism and our slam fire mechanism, but we can also see the way the bolt sled works. It is definitely a direct plunger system with a floating plunger head, it looks like. And we've got our dart tooth up here, the magazine, and our locks. So this is all part of the slam fire mechanism, but this should be a completely non-essential lock. Now to get at some of these pieces, we are certainly going to have to remove this return spring of sorts. What is this even for? Oh, they've changed the way the slam fire mechanism works. That's fascinating. That's very, very cool. I like that a lot. Other than that, we're going to remove the locks down in here, and we will be doing a full catch spring and spring replacement. I have a very special spring from Orange Modworks. This is the 7 kilogram model spring. It looks like it'll be fitting pretty well. It is, of course, sized for the Retaliator Rampage, so standard Elite internals, which this appears to have. Now, I'll fit that and see if you're interested in this spring. I'll put a link to where you can buy some in the description box below, but they're the springs that I use for a lot of my Elite Blaster modifications. I also use the German ones from time to time, but this one is very tough. So the traditional Orange Modworks catch spring was a bit on the short side, so I went into my Home Depot kind of assorted spring bin, and I found one that nested over the stock catch very nicely, and that should give us plenty of resistive force for this monstrous spring. So this is the stock spring, and this is the new spring. Now the coils fit, and it locks just barely into the spring rest back here, so I think it's going to work and be compatible, but I'll get back to you in just a moment. So one last look at the internals without the locks. The Draculina is helping me hold everything in place, but in essence, the blaster does not want to have this much stress on it. You can see up here, our stacked catch spring is trying to escape, so we're going to have to tease that into a functional capacity, and then this is all also trying to escape here and then here because of the way that the mechanism works. I think it's going to work, but I have to lock everything down first. One last look at the internals. I think that covers everything. Everything is in its place. Here's all the locks that we removed, and now to put it back together. So with the main body for the Tri-Strike completely overhauled, the only other thing that I want to do, and these are hooked jeweler's pliers that I haven't gotten the chance to use for jewelry in quite some time, is come in here and open up the airflow to the Demolisher missile, and I actually want to direct it down the center. So since I have this level of precision, I'm just pulling out these main 2 posts in here, and once we do this, you can actually get a pretty good look at how the air is being delivered through this vinyl tube. So it's actually being pumped all the way through to the edge here, which is interesting. I don't know how much more efficient it is than the Demolisher's version, but it's pretty cool, and I like that it works that way, that this is right here up in front. So I think that this is going to be slightly better. I have no way of testing that without like some sort of chronograph that could pick up things that move as slow as Demolisher missiles, or some way of consistently applying the same amount of pressure. But from a basic physics perspective, this is something that I think should be better, and so I did it because it costs nothing to do. I could do something similar to the HAMP system in the Smart AR attachment, but I'm not going to because, frankly, it works pretty well out of the box, and I don't want to mess with the Smart AR system since it's already fickle to begin with. Let's take this outside and show you what the 3-time spring does. It is a monster now. Alright guys, so this is the finished Modulus Tri-Strike. Nothing looks different on the outside, which is kind of cool, except for, of course, this vent up here. So let's start with the Demolisher missiles. Obviously, this is the custom 3D Nerf Demolisher missile attachment for the Demolisher itself. It also happens to work very well on the Tri-Strike. So for those of you that were wondering, it's an almost exact fit. That's pretty cool, I think, at least. So firing that, I can't tell you if that's better, but it certainly, in my testing, has seemed more consistent, and maybe this will lend itself to that on camera. Pretty tight grouping, in my opinion. Now, with the 3-time spring, it's actually much easier to prime with 2 hands. If you're kind of tough, you can force it, despite the torque on the bar, by just pulling very hard on one side of the priming bar. But it now prefers slam fire as opposed to single action, I think exclusively because of how much tension everything's under with the double catch spring and everything. But that's insane. I'm tempted to slow that shot down, but I don't want to with this camera. Bye! That elite dart is gone. This is insanely cool. The Modulus Tri-Strike is sweet to begin with, but I mean, this is next level. The 3x orange ModWorks spring is obviously also very good, and again, there will be a link to that in the description box below, but just gone. Just each dart. I'm not getting these darts back. Let's fire at something where we can tangibly see. Like, there's almost a little bit of hop up. That's just how hard these are coming out of the barrel. So there's a little bit of single action, but overall just a ton of fun, this blaster. And I knew that the mod guide would be good. Is there an act dart in this clip? There is. The last one's an act dart. I thought I loaded it with all elites, but super sweet mod, definitely worth doing. These are breaking 100 feet with this spring and these sets of modifications. It's too cool. It's too cool for school. So thanks a ton for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this mod guide and a quick look at the internals. One thing of note is that to get the Slamfire to operate smoothly, I did have to add back in the white bracket piece here. I did completely remove the locks that were near the Clipazine release, but that one piece did have to go back in.